Tushita Mukherjee, and I've been working for over 17 years, primarily in the social impact sector as a corporate social responsibility, communications and outreach, and program management specialist. So the first decade of my career was in India, where I worked with different international organizations. And then I actually moved on to PwC, where I was managing their CSR portfolio as a part of the PwC India Foundation team. Subsequently, I moved to South Africa, and that's when I actually reframed my career and I became an independent consultant. It was, I think, mid of 2018. And then since then, actually, I've worked with different international organizations like World Bank, UN, development consultancies, primarily focusing on communications and outreach, and the Abu Dhabi Early Childhood Authority. And today I will talk about how I support the Abu Dhabi Childhood Authority's Accelerator program and just helping them sort of raise their international, profile. So just a quick overview about what the ECA is. ECA is a government organization that works on early childhood development issues, primarily from prenatal till the ages of 8. And their purpose is to basically mainstream early childhood development issues, working with different government entities, higher educational organizations, schools, universities, private entities, and just to sort of have more initiatives focusing on early childhood development. Apart from that, they also sort of help in policy making. They have an incubator that I'll be talking more on. And mainly, they are an enabler. And that's how, so they basically are placed somewhere in the middle of the ministries, different ministries. And what they do is they support different ministries to understand the child development issues in a holistic way. Their four priority program areas are in health and nutrition, early care and education, child protection, and family support. So ECA actually has three different departments. First is the organizational enablement, which basically is your procurement, legal, admin related things. Then we have special project and partnerships, which oversees ECA's outreach and partnerships with different entities, but they also run special projects like parent-friendly label, and there are many more. And then the third one is knowledge and impact. And I actually work in this division. So this division has different program areas. So innovation, where I'm a part of the innovation team, but they also have research team. They have a special global movement called WID. And they also have other projects. So within the innovation team, I support the Anjal Z program. Anjal Z is the accelerator program of the ECA, and it's also the first program that ECA launched. ECA was established in late 2019, and Anjal Z was established in early 2020. So what it actually does is that it scouts for global startups.
Tushita, if I can
Yeah,
interrupt you for 1
sure.
minute.
Yeah, Meghna.
The ECA works with schools for the early childhood. Who is your partner? How do you go about implementing your vision?
Yeah, sure. So ECA works through its initiatives, and there are many with schools. So just to give you an example, like our research arm, for example, does different, they have different research projects, and in some of them, they would actually go to the schools for focus group discussions, for example, or to understand what are the issues that teachers are facing or parents are facing, and then sort of integrate those into their findings and insights, and then sort of have initiatives around
And
it.
these initiatives are implemented along with schools. Who implements these initiatives?
So there are different initiatives. Some of this ECA does directly. So
Okay.
there are quite a few initiatives that we do directly. So for example, there is parent-friendly label. There is this VED movement that I spoke of. So these are directly done by the ECA. But on the other hand, we also sort of help other departments like Ministry of Education, Department of Community Development, and we also partner with them um, to sort of run initiatives.
Okay, this is directly working with parents and caregivers and teachers and these initiatives, if I
Yes,
understand. Okay.
yes. So
Okay.
basically, what ECA does is that these initiatives that we have sort of showcase is like a showcase to the government to say that such initiatives can work very well. So we start small, but to make it bigger, better, and for it to sort of reach everywhere, we then collaborate. We basically give our insights and what we have learned to these different government departments, who then take it up and run it
Okay.
as a
Okay. Now
part
I
of
get
their
it.
portfolio.
Okay, I get it. Okay. Sorry
Yes.
for the break.
No, don't apologize. I'm actually looking at the presentation, so I can't see who's raising hands. So just
Yeah, this
interrupt.
is my name is Meghna.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Thank you, Meghna.
Thank you. Thank you for it.
Okay, so Anjalji program, as I said, through very rigorous scouting, sourcing, we select or rather handpick uh, anywhere between 4 to 6 global startups for our program. It's a 10-week long program, and basically support them to help them to localize their solution to address critical ECD challenges that Abu Dhabi faces and also UAE. Um, and our key partners are Abu Dhabi Investment Office, which is the organization that finances the startups. I'll discuss more about how we do it and what our program is all about. And then we have Hub 71, which is our ecosystem partner, and Techstars is a global accelerator company, but they help us deliver the content and the curriculum of the program. So you would ask why? Why is a government organization really doing a program like Anjalji, which is very startup-y, very private sector based? And so the answer is, I think, as government institutions, they have the most role to play in terms of helping boost, the startup ecosystem as such. So while you'll read these 3 bullet points, please go ahead and do it. While these are the 3 major reasons for the Anjalji to sort of really come up, but also to showcase, to the world as a best practice, how Abu Dhabi ECA is able to nurture the entrepreneurial thoughts and, entrepreneurial ecosystem as well through their involvement. In terms of program tracks, so it started with the launch track. We call that now launch track, which basically means to get 4 to 6 global growth stage startups to come in and localize their solution. But over time, there was a lot of interest from the early stage startups, and they really were interested to understand the UAE market because it is extremely dynamic and very, very friendly towards startups. And we said, okay. So from 2022, we actually started the Ignite track, which is mainly for the early stage startups. So for the growth stage, we select 4 to 6, but for the Ignite, we select anywhere between 12 to 14. And the differentiation between the two and what they get is on this slide. So launch track basically gets the entire bouquet of services. So starting from master classes that we curate, localization classes, mentorships, mentorship support, to localization support, which basically means helping them connect with the relevant local entities that they can collaborate with to start a pilot in the region and test out their product or offering, to sort of financing, providing them financing of up to $220,000, which is in the form of equity-free grant. And they also sort of spend a whole month in Abu Dhabi so that they get to meet people, they get to understand the nuances of Abu Dhabi's startup ecosystem, the culture, how it works, all of that. The Ignite track, on the other hand, mainly receive the virtual programs. So they have access to the master classes, the localization classes, but also like access to mentors. And Techstars also sort of invests a lot of time to help them, go to the next level. So as I said, Anjalji follows a hybrid sort of a program structure. It's a 10-week program based on 3 foundational pillars. So first is mentorship, and in mentorship, this is where Techstars mainly sort of help in bringing the best-in-class global experts. But where we come in is to bring in local mentors, local private sectors, practitioners, experts, to help these startups understand the nuances of the market here. Then localization, so connecting them to relevant partners, making sure that they, sort of have an entry into this world fairly easily and also quickly. So we host a special event, which I'll talk more about later, and then financing, as I mentioned, through ADIO. Now comes what I do. So I mainly support the Anjalji program. And basically there are 3 pillars for it. So first is program support. Each year we run a 10-week program, and every year our theme is different. And that is because every year there are different kind of challenges or other priorities that ECA sort of has when it comes to early childhood development. We sort of like to sort of tie that into the program that we offer. So typically our work sort of, if I look at the whole calendar for the year for us, it begins say from March, where we start planning and curating the theme and what kind of focus we want to have. That goes through a stringent and a rigorous approval process internally to make sure that it's tied into the larger ECA strategy. Then with Techstars, we have this massive sourcing and selecting process. So just to give you an example, last year we got more than 360 applications across 59 countries. And before that application actually comes in, there are questions, queries from different startups. So we also sort of mentor them, help them to understand how they can make their applications better, more relevant to what we want. And then after these applications come in, we all have our stringent criteria. So ECA has a criteria because we need to look at it from an early childhood development lens, whereas ADIO has to see more from its viability and from the whole financial side of things as well. And Hub 71 has its own criteria. So after all these applications are actually scanned through the different criteria we have, we select 20 top startups. And there we then have interviews, and I'm a part of those interviews where we sort of speak to each of these startups and figure out, who of these would be most relevant to us. And so we select 10. And then after we select 10, it then goes to the leadership at the highest level. And when I mean at the highest level is the royal family who's involved with the ECA, and they handpick 4 to 6 global startups. So that is, so this entire process is actually from, say, the application starts in June, and by October, we know, which 4 to 6 startups we are going to be inviting. Simultaneously, early stage startup also has a similar process, except that we just do the interviews and decide who the final 13 to 15 startups would be a part of the virtual program. And then the execution part comes. So as I said, the first 6 weeks is virtual, but there is this entire work that goes in terms of, curriculum development, basis feedback from the previous cohorts, just to understand what kind of experts, what kind of topics we need to cover to be able to make it more worthwhile for these startups. And that's a long process that we simultaneously go through with Techstars, and we curate literally this 10-week program. And in this,
Tushita,
yes,
can I interrupt?
yes, please.
Can you give me an example of a startup in the ECA space?
ECD, so all of the startups that we have are ECD space. So just to give you an example from our latest cohort, we have one startup that actually uses AI to understand why your baby is crying. So for new parents, you would not know why your baby is crying, and it can actually translate the baby's cry and tell you what the baby needs. So that is one. Second,
Okay.
so that's like a tech sort of a thing. There is a non-tech a startup as well, which has a product called a story the startup is called Story Button, and they have a story box. So it looks like a very cute old age Murphy's radio, and it has all kind of stories that children can listen to, so that they don't have to see screen, or they don't even have to go near to any gadget, for example.
Okay, I get it. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So just to give you an idea of the kind of startups we have, they mostly are into education, health and well-being, mindfulness, those sort of categories.
Okay, thank you, Tushita.
No worries. So yes, so the entire curriculum development happens simultaneously, and then obviously we execute it. It happens anywhere between December to March, depending on when Ramadan starts, because we need to like wrap it up before that. And so the first 6 weeks happen online, and the last 4 weeks we get our global, growth state startups to come to Abu Dhabi. And so that's like a huge process, because all the classes then happen physically, and Hub 71 is where we have our space. So everybody sort of gathers there, and there are different networking opportunities also that we create simultaneously. The third is special events that we do during this program. So the first one is Abu Dhabi Youth Challenge. And the idea is to spark, that passion, or just to sort of help them explore entrepreneurship. We run a weekend-long boot camp where we invite, youth to sort of register, but then we handpick people because we really want the serious ones to be attending. It's a 54-hour boot camp where they come together, collaborate, come up with ideas. We actually come up with challenge statements, and they need to sort of come up with solutions through a startup that they think would address that challenge in the best possible way. So, for example, this time we had more than 200 registrations, and we handpicked around 65 of them. And there we also have mentors, experts coming in, giving them like a insight to what this whole ecosystem is all about, what startups are all about, and how they can also see this as a career option going ahead. Most of them are in their university or college. They are studying. Some of them are also early professionals. Then the other program that we run is Ecosystem Development Lab, and that is mainly the main event for our growth state startups to pitch their product and service, and make meaningful connections. So this time, for example, we had more than 50 participants coming in from different government entities, private sector entities, schools, universities, hospitals. And this is a great way for our participants to quickly like get a scan of what kind of stakeholders there are, and who would be perfect for them to run their pilot. And then they finally culminated their whole journey with the STEP conference, where we had an exhibition area, and they had the opportunity to meet the larger UAE ecosystem. Um, Apart from this, I mean, so basically across 4 cohorts, we have supported around 24 global growth stage startups, of which I think almost 12, no more actually, almost 15 or 16 of them have already set up their offices in Abu Dhabi. And looking at the success that we've had locally, we are now back to the blueprint to look at how we can make it bigger, more impactful, more meaningful. And so the future planning is currently underway. So that's one side of what I do. The second one is international exposure. And so Anjal Z is pretty well known within the startup ecosystem in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai even, but not many people are aware of the program internationally. And so it was sort of when I had entered, this was something that we spoke of. And because of my communications background, they said, "Can you lead it?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to." And so there was this entire plan that was chalked out, which is related to communications and outreach. And in that, we identified the key target markets we want to sort of go to, and raise awareness about our program. And in doing that, we then sort of identified the kind of, the events that we want to be a part of, or the awards that are there, and there are plenty. So there was an exhaustive process of prioritizing which events, because given a government entity, you have a budgeting constraint and you need to use public money responsibly. And so last year, we actually started this whole process. And last year, we secured more than 6 international speaking opportunities, which were free of charge. Additionally, we sponsored a knowledge session in TechCrunch, which is one of the biggest global startup events. And our session actually had the highest attendance. I guess more than 600 people participated and attended our panel discussion. And in doing so, so then it's my job actually to curate content to see what would be interest of, a particular event, what they would like to hear. And it's two-pronged. So one is, of course, to raise Anjalji's profile, but also to sort of show how Abu Dhabi is a great, city to be coming to, because it has great policies. The government does a lot of work and really promotes startups to come and set up and expand their offerings in the city. And then the last piece of the puzzle is more comms, PR, and mostly like increasing our thought leadership and increasing our engagement. And that's mainly done with our PR agency. So again, like there was this whole process of selecting the PR agency, trying to understand the global ecosystem, and also the media ecosystem, like, what kind of stories they would like to sort of listen to, or what kind of topics they are interested in. And so there's a big content plan that we have, which we create every quarter. And then based on that, we pitch our, topics or themes to targeted media. We don't want to go everywhere, but we want to go to places where we find our stakeholders, like our VCs, our startups, our, companies who actually have similar programs. And so till now, we have managed to have more than 18 pieces of coverage, some of them being really like in very prestigious publications. And apart from that, we realized when we were doing this entire analysis of communications and outreach that our social media needs to be amped up. So last year, actually, we completely changed our creative direction, content direction, onboarded an agency, and we've been working with them pretty tirelessly to make sure that we sort of increase our engagement levels, and people are now through social media channels are asking about our program. So that's a great way. And obviously with that, the planning and the content strategy and what kind of content we need to put out, also when the program is running, making sure that everything is timely, news is not old. So those are the kind of things that I lead on.